Hey everyone, welcome back to Steve's View. Let's talk about something that, for most Americans, feels both ridiculous and depressingly familiar. The US government shutting down. You've probably seen this movie before. Every few years, Washington has another meltdown over the budget. One side blames the other. The government runs out of money, and suddenly, federal workers are told to stay home. Airports slow down, and social services start to creak. It's chaos. But it's a very American kind of chaos. And every time it happens, the same question comes up. How is it that the richest country in the world can't even keep its government open? That's exactly what we're digging into today. Not just why the US government keeps shutting down, but what this repeating crisis says about the deeper rot inside Washington's politics. First, let's get this straight. Government shutdowns aren't some freak event or random mistake. They're baked into how modern Washington works, or rather, doesn't work. Here's the short version. Every year, Congress has to pass a series of spending bills to fund the government. If they don't agree by the deadline, usually October 1st, the money stops flowing. That means national parks close, federal employees get furloughed, some food safety inspections stop, and even the IRS slows down. Essential workers, like air traffic controllers and border patrol agents, still have to show up, but without pay until Congress gets its act together. Sound insane? It is, but it's also by design. You see, back in the 1970s, Congress reformed the budget process to give itself more control over spending. They wanted discipline. Instead, they created a system where deadlines became political weapons. Now, every fall, both parties load the budget bills with ideological riders. Climate money here, abortion rules there, tax credits, border funds, and dare the other side to blink first. If neither side gives in, the government shuts down. So when politicians say the government is closed because of the other party, that's not quite true. It's closed because they both think the shutdown itself is leverage. The first big shutdown happened in 1981 when Ronald Reagan clashed with a Democratic Congress over spending cuts. Since then, it's happened 20 times. 20. That's how often the United States, the country that lectures others about democracy and governance, has literally stopped paying its own employees because its leaders couldn't agree on a spreadsheet. The two longest ones are still fresh in memory. In 2013, Republicans shut down the government for 16 days over Obamacare. In 2018 to 2019, Trump and Democrats deadlocked over border wall funding, and the shutdown lasted 35 days, the longest in U.S. history. Each time, the same pattern repeats. 1. The media runs wall-to-wall coverage. 2. Politicians go on TV pretending to fight for the people. 3. The public gets angry. 4. A temporary deal is reached, usually a few weeks of funding. 5. The same fight happens again next year. If insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, Washington is running a masterclass. To understand why shutdowns keep happening, you have to look beyond budgets and see the incentives that drive American politics now. For decades, Congress was a place of compromise. Lawmakers would cut deals, trade votes, and keep the lights on because everyone understood that governing mattered more than grandstanding. That world is gone. Today, the incentives have flipped. Politicians don't get rewarded for solving problems. They get rewarded for creating drama. The media clips, the social media fundraising, the party loyalty tests, all of it pushes lawmakers to be louder, not smarter. Think about it. A senator who goes on Fox News or MSNBC to stand firm can raise millions overnight. But a senator who quietly negotiates a deal that prevents a shutdown, nobody notices. So what do you think happens? They perform. They posture. They treat the government like a stage, not an institution. That's why every budget season feels like a hostage crisis. The government's not being managed, it's being marketed. Now, when Washington shuts down, the politicians still get paid. The lobbyists still have jobs. The cable news panels still go live every night. But millions of regular people, they get hit immediately. During the last shutdown, nearly 800,000 federal workers were either furloughed or forced to work without pay. Families missed mortgage payments. Airports faced staff shortages. Food assistance programs ran out of money in some states. Small businesses that rely on federal permits or loans suddenly had no one to talk to. Tourism towns near national parks lost entire months of income. And for what? For symbolic battles that almost never change the final numbers. By the time Congress finally reopens the government, the spending levels usually end up almost exactly where they started. Give or take a few billion that make no difference to the deficit. So if the outcome's the same, what was the point? The point wasn't to govern. It was to signal. Each party wanted to prove they're fighting for their base. And that's the sickness at the heart of it. Shutdowns aren't about policy anymore. They're about performance. Both parties have learned to weaponize shutdowns, just in different ways. Democrats usually frame them as moral showdowns. We're protecting the vulnerable. We're defending health care. We're fighting for fairness. Republicans frame them as fiscal discipline. We're standing up to big government. We're stopping waste. We're protecting taxpayers. But here's the truth. Neither side is serious about cutting spending or reforming programs. They're serious about appearing serious. During the last round of shutdown threats, Democrats tried to attach new healthcare subsidies and climate funding into a stopgap bill, things that had nothing to do with keeping the lights on. Republicans responded by refusing to pass any funding unless Democrats stripped out those extras. So the government was held hostage, not over the budget itself, but over leverage. It's like two kids refusing to share a toy, but the toy happens to be the U.S. government. Every shutdown costs real money, not just in lost wages, but in national productivity and credibility. The 2018 to 2019 shutdown wiped out about $11 billion in economic output, according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's more than it would have cost to just fund the programs they were fighting over. Federal contracts stalled, tourism dropped, consumer confidence took a hit, and globally, it made America look like a dysfunctional empire, a country so polarized it can't even pass a budget. Financial analysts around the world now factor in shutdown risk when assessing U.S. political stability. That's not a small thing. It means the chaos in Washington has started to affect America's brand. Now, here's where it gets tricky, and maybe a little uncomfortable. It's easy to look at all this and say, the system is broken. But that's not entirely true. The system is working in a weird, painful way. It's doing what it was built to do: slow things down, force compromise, and prevent absolute power. When one side can't steamroll the other, when gridlock forces debate, that's not failure, that's friction. And friction is how democracy avoids tyranny. Shutdowns are an ugly form of that friction, an extreme symptom of a balance that's gone out of tune. But it's still a balance. Remember, in many countries, when leaders disagree, they don't shut down the government. They shut down the opposition. So as messy and stupid as this looks, it's still democracy trying to correct itself. This is where Donald Trump and now some of his allies come in with a dangerous idea. If gridlock is the problem, let's get rid of the rules that cause it, like the filibuster. The filibuster is that Senate rule requiring 60 votes to pass most legislation. It forces parties to negotiate instead of ramming bills through with a simple majority. Trump wants to scrap it. He argues that if Republicans win control, they should pass everything with 51 votes. No delays, no obstruction. Sounds efficient, right? But here's the catch. Power swings. If Republicans kill the filibuster today, Democrats will use that same tool tomorrow. And once that barrier is gone, so is the need for restraint. The result? Every time control changes, the country gets a completely new set of laws. Whiplash politics. That's not democracy, that's instability. And it's exactly why the filibuster, annoying as it is, might be the last thread holding this system together. America's political system wasn't designed to be smooth, it was designed to survive rough handling. The founders built layers of checks and balances precisely so no one could hijack it easily. That's why the same government that can't agree on a budget can still function enough to hold elections, enforce laws, and transfer power peacefully. It's slow, frustrating, often embarrassing, but it's durable. What we're seeing now isn't the collapse of democracy. It's democracy under extreme stress. It's the consequence of too much partisanship and too little humility. But it's also proof that the system, while battered, still holds. If we really want to stop this cycle of shutdowns and gridlock, we can't just tweak the rules. We have to fix the incentives. That means changing how campaigns are funded, so politicians don't profit from chaos. It means reforming primaries, so candidates have to appeal to the center, not just the extremes. It means rewarding compromise instead of punishing it. Because at the end of the day, the problem isn't that America lacks good institutions. It's that the people running them are trapped in bad incentives. Shutdowns don't happen because democracy is failing. They happen because politicians have forgotten how to use it. So yeah, the government shutting down looks ugly. It frustrates workers, scares investors, and embarrasses the country. But underneath that chaos, something weirdly healthy is still happening. People care. They argue. They resist. They demand accountability. That's the beating heart of democracy, even when it sounds like a heart attack. Because the real danger isn't that America's fighting too much. It's that one day it might stop fighting altogether. So, the next time you see headlines screaming government shutdown, just remember, it's not a sign the system's dying. It's a sign it's still alive, just painfully, dysfunctionally, chaotically alive. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, share it with someone who's tired of partisan noise, and I'll see you in the next one. Because in the end, chaos may be Washington's favorite language, but understanding it is how we take the power back.